Well, folks, here again for the weekly forecast. Of course, we've seen some pretty significant severe weather during this past week. The most important of the complexes was Sunday across south central Nebraska that did impact portions of southeast Nebraska, and the whopper of whopper storms that occurred during the Wednesday time frame. That system moved basically the thunderstorms from north central Nebraska southeastward through north central Missouri. We had 10 reports of tornado touchdowns in Nebraska, 168 reports of 1-inch diameter hail, an additional 31 reports where we had hail at least 2 inches in diameter. Then we also seen 35 reports of winds greater than 60 miles per hour and 8 reports greater than 75 miles per hour. So a very important storm system. Now, we do understand that there's been considerable crop and property damage out there. Some producers may be wondering whether or not the option for replant is available. Some of this information that is pertinent to this type of a problem can be found on cropwatch.unl.edu, and we'll try to continue to feed updates into CropWatch so that you can be up to date on the latest information that is passed through by our users and of course our extension personnel out in the field. Now let's take a look at the upper air models. Let's see what we have in store as we go through this next 7-day period. And the first thing I'll draw your attention to is we have a slight northwest flow and a little bit of trough moving through the southern stream. We expect some energy to ride down this front today, so we're going to be some periods of clouds in and out, and then we'll see some thunderstorm development across the west, and some of that will slide into the eastern part of the state. It's not going to be a complete washout, but we will have periods of thunderstorm activity. As we go into tomorrow, we'll see the cold front at the surface start to push through the state, and that will inundate some thunderstorm activity across south central and southeast Nebraska. A little bit more uncertain across the northern part of the state. This looks like an excellent chance to receive some significant moisture across the southeastern part of the state, and then we'll see some of that lingering impacts as we get into Monday as we pull in much cooler air into the region. So this is going to be a fairly cool weekend compared to the last couple of weeks. And then as we go into Tuesday, we'll start to see a ridging pattern take place, and it's going to be temporary, but at least looks like we're going to get a good day of dry weather across the state before we start to take our attention to a system coming in the Pacific Northwest. It might start to spill some energy out into the plains, and we might see some thunderstorm development across the western part of the state, not so much across the eastern portions of Nebraska. Then as we get into Thursday, we see that trough digging a little bit farther down in the western United States, so we'll shoot energy out of the southwest over top the central Rockies and skirting that into Nebraska, so we could see some isolated thunderstorm activity develop again statewide. And as we get into Friday, warmer air builds in and will ride these systems around the periphery of this ridge, so the northern half of the state looks to see a good chance for thunderstorm activity. So if we look at the temperature forecast, we'll be looking at off and on thunderstorms throughout this entire period. A cooler trend during this weekend, slight warming during the midweek period, and then some significant warming in the west by the time the week's over. In terms of the 8 to 14 day forecast from next Thursday through the following Tuesday, it looks like cooler than normal conditions will be the name of the game, and we will continue that trend of above normal moisture pretty much statewide.